Welcome to the Blue Streak Podcast, where we break down who we are, what we do, and why Miami-Dade Schools Police is your best choice. I'm your host, Executive Officer Jandro Suarez, and today we're going to the Northeast. We're going to the Northeast District with our two guests, Captain PJ and Lieutenant Flores.
Yes.
So before we get started into the Northeast District, this is actually pretty special for me because Sergeant at the time, now Lieutenant, she did my background. She hired me. She did the background, snooze, gave me calls, and asked me some serious questions.
Yep.
And Captain PJ, he's been phenomenal. He's always helped me. He's always a lending hand, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't know if the listeners don't know that, so he's a pretty badass. But go ahead and tell us a little about yourself, Captain.
Okay, like you said, Captain Pijhon Valcourt. I've been with the department for approximately 23 years now. Born and raised in Miami-Dade. I'm a product of Miami-Dade public school system. Graduated from Miami-Jackson Senior. Went into the military, United States Marine Corps. Got out, got hired, and 23 years later, I'm a captain in the best agency in the world, police agency in the world.
That's awesome. Well, most of our command staff are alumni from our schools, so yeah. I'm glad we're keeping it going. Yeah. And LT, Flores, same question for you. For our listeners that don't know you, introduce yourself.
So hello, everyone. I've been with the department. This is my 15th year. Prior to actual law enforcement, I was actually working at the airport for a couple years. And I went into Miami-Dade schools when I was 21. And 15 years later, here I am still. I love where I work. Thank you, Captain Valcourt. You have been amazing to me, and I appreciate the opportunity of being here.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. LT, walk us through the hiring process. I know now you're the lieutenant for the Northeast District. Can you tell us, because there's some listeners that do want to apply to Miami-Dade Schools Police, to our department. What advice do you have for them, or how does that process go?
Well, the majority of stuff now is online, so you can go online and apply online. However, I will tell you, I know I applied relatively young. I went through the academy at 20. At 21, I ended up actually applying and getting hired. Just apply, give it a shot. If you know anybody that works in the school system, it's always good to reach out. You never know what kind of advice somebody can give you to help guide you better throughout the process. If you have any criminal backgrounds, I don't suggest it because we will end up finding out due to the extensive background that our department does. You also need to go through a polygraph and a psychological. And after that, it would be the interview with the chief.
What about the physical? I know it's when I did it, was very challenging. Should they prepare for that? I know you're big into running. You're a big runner. What do you suggest for the viewers?
I was big into running, but yes. Yes. So currently Sergeant Charlie's the one that's doing the academy as a training advisor over there. She's a great resource. So if you do see her out there at Miami-Dade College, reach out to her. But yes, you do have to keep up physically. If you think it's a joke, you will end up feeling it later on when you're either having to respond to a call or even walking some of these schools. It's a little bit of a workout.
The 300 push-ups and jumping jacks you made me do in the academy. Thank you for that. So I appreciate you. Captain, being into jiu-jitsu, how has that helped you with over into school and that discipline and that you have to build, and obviously Marine Corps?
Well, I would say even starting before jiu-jitsu and the Marine Corps, my mother instilling discipline in me through punishments when I misbehaved, and she was a hard worker. My mom was the hardest worker, get up early in the morning. Sometimes she was cook for us before she would leave. So I have to give all credit to her. She instilled that discipline in me, which led me to go to the Marine Corps, and coming in the career of Miami-Dade Schools Police allowed me to join in jiu-jitsu, and it aligned with who I am, but definitely need discipline to go through the ranks of jiu-jitsu, just coming in, day out, working out through being hurt and your egos being in check when, you lose versus sparring. So it has helped me and continuously helps me.
Awesome. So now that we know who you guys are a little bit better for our listeners, let's talk about the Northeast. What are the boundaries? What are the areas of the Northeast? What are the schools in the community that you guys patrol?
Okay, one of the busiest areas out of our operational areas. Furthest north, we have Michael Crop Senior, so that's our furthest north end. If we go south, we're going into Overtown. We have Booker T. Washington Senior, rich history, Overtown. Then if we going northeast, you have schools like North Miami Beach Senior, North Miami, Miami Beach, Sunny Owl. So we encompass a lot of areas. And then when you go out west, you have schools like Madison Middle, you have Miami Jackson Senior High. So a big area to cover.
Big area. LT, I know your social media, and when you taught us the SRO class, I know there was trends coming out. How do you see social media impacting our school safety positively and negatively with social media?
Social media, yes, it can go both positive and negative. Positive, I would say it's a good way to kind of keep tabs on what's going on out there. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for us, the students, the juveniles kind of put themselves out there. So that kind of helps us figure out what's going on, and also if any crimes are committed. You know, there's always cell phones, people record, so that does help us out. Negatively, I would say there's a lot of copycats. So we have a lot of trends that have been occurring throughout the years. Currently, I'm aware of one where it's like similar to a Dr. Seuss trend, where they think, the juveniles I'm sure think it's funny, the students think it's funny, where they go in, they vandalize completely a restroom in one of the schools, mess up the plumbing system by putting in a plant into the system, graffitiing the walls, and then quoting a Dr. Seuss quote. So, you know, to them it's funny, but the school then has to deal with damages later on that they have to fix, which in essence they're committing a crime, because
serious consequences.
Yep.
It's over $1,000, or
Yep.
so it could go to felony.
Yep.
So wow, I didn't know about that one. What are they? So Dr. Seuss.
It's the Dr. Seuss trend, yes.
That one.
That's just one of the few. They had another one where they would ingest spicy chips. Well, that was kind of like maybe a year ago, and they would actually get, it would be so severe that some of them would get hospitalized because of how severe they were getting a reaction to it.
I remember Pop Rocks back then was the thing.
You're dating yourself. You're dating yourself.
Pop Rocks, and you drink soda, but now
Yeah.
These kids don't even know what that is.
Captain, how does your team, how do you engage your officers? I know you're very involved. You do the coffee with the cop. Since we couldn't do it outside, now you brought coffee to a cop to the school. What other things do you do with your officers to engage and build that camaraderie?
Wide a range of things. First of all, we have what we call an event planning committee, where officers volunteer to assist me to, do things to motivate the officers. It started when I was an officer, just coming to work every day. Sometimes things can get mundane, so you kind of wanted to do fun stuff. So in Northeast, we've done step challenge in October. Basically, it was a competition on who walked the most steps throughout the day, and those officers got prizes. We had the perfect attendance award for those officers that came to work every day for the month, and they got a special breakfast during one of the roll calls. We had, like you mentioned, the coffee with a cop, where normally, you'd go to a coffee shop and citizens would come through and interact, but obviously we have to cover the schools. So we did it where the parents were dropping off the kids in the morning, and we would give coffee and donuts. Thanks to the schools that participated, they bought the coffee, they bought the donuts and the snacks, and they would give it to the parents. So the SROs, they loved that, and the parents, that was a big hit. So coffee with a cop. Also, on teachers' work days, we may have a roll call. We had a kickball tournament with Northwest operations and kind of a barbecue. It was a camaraderie. So we do a lot of things in Northeast. Also, roll calls every month, where we honor the officers that have done an outstanding job that month, and we give them an Officer of the Month award for Northeast District. So we do a lot of things in Northeast.
Who won the kickball? I heard Northwest won. Is that
a rumor? I don't think so.
Never happened.
They cheated.
Yeah. Still under review.
It's under review. LT, is there anything you want to share with the parents or the community? That I know students now are going into the summer and they have a lot of downtime. And again, we're talking to you for social media. Maybe they're on their phones too long, or they're going to sleep, and the parents go to sleep and the kids are still on the phone. What advice do you give the parents?
Take away the iPad and cell phone. No, I'm just kidding. No, I would definitely say be aware of what's going on behind that screen, because it is very addicting. And I notice it in my own kids. You know, I have to take it away, and I'm very old school where put it down, go outside and play. The first time I did that to my kids, they were like, play? I'm like, yeah, there's a thing called ball and a stick, go play. So they were forced to go play outside. So, you know, if you can go back to that, keeping them active. And unfortunately, a lot of us have to work, so we're not always there for our kids all the time. But when we are there, it's important to be present and to be aware and ask questions, because if you don't know, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of evil going on in the world. So just keep tabs of what your kids are doing.
Yeah, being more involved in your
Yes.
child's life is just very important.
Yep.
Because it takes all of us. Yes, when they're at school, we're there, but we also need the parents.
Yep.
The parents' help.
I hope, yeah.
Captain, I know you said you've been with the department 23 years. How have you seen it change and evolve from when you first started to now?
It has changed a lot. Coming in, we actually had beepers. I know some of the younger viewers may not know what a beeper is, but it was a device that you would have. You would call the number and it would beep, meaning, hey, give the school a call. So we would, you know, go to pay phones, or cell phones were kind of just coming out, and we would use the cell phone. So that, from growing from about 125, 150 officers to almost 500 officers.
Yeah.
So just to see that growth, and even me being an officer, my first middle school that I had was Charles Drew Middle.
Mm-hmm.
So just being a young rookie officer there and not knowing a lot what to do, and then now being a captain of Northeast District, of where I started off as an SRO. So just amazing the changes that I see, and now I'm able to help implement a lot of changes. So definitely a long history, and you know, happy to be here.
Awesome. LT, same how have you seen the department change? Because I know you hired me, so
I know I hired you 2019. I think it was. That was time is flying by. Pretty soon you'll be my boss one day. Who knows, right? One day. You never know how the tables turn. No, I've noticed a huge change in the agency. I came in 2011. Around that time, we still had afternoon midnights. It was a thing, and you know, SROs, school resource officers, were during the day.
Mm-hmm.
This is prior to the unfortunate incidents that have occurred. Then we grew drastically. We went from 100 when I came in, 185, I think it was, to 500 and something. Yeah, we're trying to fill in every school, and it's just been a huge difference. You know, we don't have afternoon and midnights anymore. We're not a 24-hour department anymore. Now our main priority are these you know, the kids. Make sure everybody's kid gets home safe. That's our goal at the end of the day.
Perfect.
And that's what we strive for.
Thank you. Captain, for our listeners, what piece of advice do you give the parents now during the downtime of summer, that, you know, they're at home? And
well, I would say just accountability for the kids. Obviously, some parents may be at work and kids may not be in camps. They may be at home, but maybe checking in on them throughout the day to make sure, you know, they're not getting in trouble. Let the kids relax. They can stay up a little bit later. They can sleep in. So let them truly enjoy the summer. Maybe once a week, maybe have them, you know, read a book, just be in touch a little bit. But it's very important that our kids just relax and enjoy the summer. Before you know it, it's going to be back to school time again. So let them enjoy it, and also check in on them to make sure they're not, you know, going a little too crazy. So that would be the advice I would give the parents for the summer.
Perfect. Thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you, Captain, for being here.
No
LT, awesome seeing you again.
Likewise.
Guys, that is it for our episode. Thank you, Miami Community Newspaper, for bringing the Blue Streak podcast to the community. And remember that we're here to protect, serve, and inspire.